Outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, I waited for Henry for an hour, but all I received was a text message from him. Rose is pregnant, I have to take care of her. We'll discuss the marriage registration after she gives birth. Right after that, Henry's childhood sweetheart, Rose, sent me a pregnancy test report with the caption, "Thank you, sister, for making this possible." I stared at the phone and laughed. Making this possible? Fine. I immediately called Henry's archenemy, Lucas. Want to get married? Outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, I looked down at my watch. It had been 20 minutes past the agreed time for marriage registration. Miss Sophie, hasn't Mr. Henry arrived yet? The staff member asked for the third time, with sympathy in their eyes. I forced a smile, giving a professional grin. Just wait a little longer. My phone vibrated. It was a call from Henry. I breathed a sigh of relief and answered, "Where are you?" "Sophie, Rose suddenly felt unwell, and I'm at the hospital with her for a checkup." Henry's voice was clearly anxious. The marriage registration might have to be postponed. I gripped the phone tightly, my nails almost digging into my palm. "Today is the day we agreed upon." "I know, but Rose." Henry's words were suddenly interrupted, and a delicate female voice came from the other end. "Brother Henry, the doctor says I'm pregnant." My blood froze instantly. "Sophie, did you hear that? Rose is pregnant. I have to take care of her." Henry's voice suddenly became excited, as if he had forgotten his fiancée on the other end of the line. "Congratulations," I said coldly and hung up. In less than 3 minutes, my phone started vibrating frantically. Rose sent a series of photos, the pregnancy test report, her and Henry hugging in the hospital corridor, and a close-up of their interlocked fingers. The last photo made my pupils shrink. It was Rose lying on my bed, with Henry leaning down to kiss her forehead. In the background, a photo of me and Henry hung on the wall, the irony unbearable. Caption: "Thank you, Sister Sophie, for making this possible, lovers finally united." I gave a cold laugh and opened Facebook, and sure enough, Rose had posted an update. In the photo, she nestled in Henry's arms, with the caption, "After all the twists and turns, it's still you," and the comments were full of blessings. Henry's messages bombarded me next. "Sophie, Rose is pregnant, I have to take care of her. I drank too much at the wrap party that night, but the child is innocent. She originally planned to hide it from me and raise the child alone, but she is so young and has a future as a movie star, I can't ruin her." I stared at these words expressionlessly until the last one ignited my fury. "Sophie, rest assured, after this child is born, you can raise it, so you won't have to endure the pain of childbirth, and this child will only recognize you as its mother." I laughed in anger. What is this? Charity? Does he really think I can't live without him? Seeing that I didn't reply, Henry added, "Can we reschedule the marriage registration after Rose gives birth?" I stared at the phone screen, laughing so hard that tears almost came out. "Brother, this is a business marriage. Who would wait for you?" I directly called the number at the bottom of my contact list, and the call was quickly answered. "Lucas," I called his name directly. "Want to get married?" There was a 2-second silence on the other end, followed by a low, amused voice. "Outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, a black Maybach stopped outside the Civil Affairs Bureau. The door opened, and a pair of long legs stepped out. Lucas, dressed in a simple white shirt and black trousers, exuded the aura of a runway model. He walked up to me, a playful smile on his lips. "What has stimulated Miss Sophie to suddenly think of me?" I looked up at him directly. "Henry's white moonlight is pregnant, and he stood me up today to take care of her." Lucas raised an eyebrow. So, I pulled out my household registry from my bag. "I want to get married today, to anyone, as long as it's not Henry." Lucas chuckled softly and took my registry, my honor. The marriage registration process was unbelievably quick. The moment the stamp fell, my relationship with Lucas changed from archenemy to legal spouse. As we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lucas suddenly wrapped his arm around my waist and whispered in my ear, "Since we're married, shouldn't we do what couples do?" I was about to push him away when I saw Henry hurrying toward me from a distance. "Sophie." Henry ran over, panting, "Rose's condition has stabilized, and I thought I should still come to register with you first." His gaze fell on my hand clasped with Lucas's, and his face changed drastically. "You." Lucas held up the freshly issued marriage certificate, smiling freely. "Sorry, Miss Sophie is now my wife." Henry's expression was as if he'd been struck on the head. "Sophie, what are you doing? Didn't I say we'd wait until Rose gives birth?" "Henry," I interrupted him, "have you forgotten that ours was just a business marriage?" "But." "No buts," I sneered. "Did you think I'd wait for you to have a child with another woman? And raise it for you? Where do you get that confidence?" Henry's face turned ashen. "Are you retaliating against me? Just because I'm taking care of a pregnant Rose?" "Sophie, since when did you become so petty?" I was almost amused by his logic. "Yes, I'm petty. So I wish you and your pure, lovely white moonlight 100 years of happiness." With that, I took Lucas's arm. "Husband, let's go home." Lucas cooperatively pecked my lips, "As my wife wishes." Henry stood there, his face alternating between green and white. I got into Lucas's car without looking back and finally burst out laughing. "Feeling good?" Lucas started the car, glancing at me. Ecstatic, I leaned back in the seat. "Thanks for playing along." Lucas chuckled. "You're welcome, anything that can infuriate Henry, I'm happy to do." I turned to him. "So, our marriage." "Mutual benefit," Lucas interrupted. "You need to slap Henry in the face, I need a shield against my family's marriage pressure." "Happy cooperation?" I extended my hand. "Happy cooperation." Lucas took it but didn't let go immediately. His thumb gently rubbed the back of my hand, sending a subtle electric sensation. However, his voice deepened. "Since it's an act, we should go all in. Are you ready, wife?" My heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Lucas curled his lips. "It means, starting today, we'll live as a loving couple." That night, Sophie and Lucas's marriage and Henry and Rose's pregnancy both hit the trending searches. I sat on the sofa in Lucas's apartment, scrolling through comments on my phone. Holy crap! What a plot twist. Wasn't Sophie supposed to marry Henry today? I heard Henry ditched her for a pregnant Rose, and Sophie just grabbed Lucas to get married. Sister, you're badass. Has that green tea rose finally climbed to the top? Yuck. Am I the only one who thinks Lucas is way hotter than Henry? Sophie hit the jackpot. Lucas came over with 2 glasses of red wine and handed me one. "What are you looking at so intently?" I turned my phone to him. "Our wedding photo is trending." Lucas leaned in to look, and the faint woody scent of his cologne entered my nostrils, making me slightly uneasy. "Not bad," he commented, then took out his phone and snapped a picture of us. "What are you doing?" I asked warily. Lucas looked down at his phone, posting on Facebook. "Since we're married, we should make it official." A few seconds later, his Facebook updated with our photo, captioned "My wife," followed by a red heart. My phone immediately blew up with countless messages. Henry called too, but I rejected it outright. "Not answering?" Lucas raised an eyebrow. "No need," I took a sip of red wine. "He just wants to question why I moved on so quickly." Lucas chuckled. "He doesn't think you're jealous, does he?" With Henry's level of narcissism, it's very likely. I rolled my eyes. As we spoke, Rose updated her Facebook. She posted an ultrasound photo with the caption, "The joy of new life," and specifically tagged me and Henry. The comments section exploded. "Is this a provocation to Sophie? The mistress rises and acts so arrogantly? Sophie's already married to Lucas, who still cares about Henry?" I sneered and forwarded Rose's Facebook post with the comment, Congratulations, make sure your Mr. Henry pays child support on time after all, a child can't be without a father. After posting, I turned off my phone and raised my glass to Lucas, to celebrate my escape from misery. Lucas clinked my glass, to celebrate marrying a smart wife. We smiled at each other and drank our wine. A week later, I joined the crew to shoot the new film Dark Knight's Light and was surprised to find Lucas as the male lead. You didn't tell me you'd be in it, I frowned at Lucas, freshly styled, in the makeup room. He wore a vintage suit, his hair styled like a Republican-era gentleman, so handsome it was hard to look away. Surprise. Lucas approached, resting one hand on my makeup table, leaning down to whisper in my ear, besides, doesn't a husband-wife team generate more buzz? His breath on my ear made my heart race. I forced myself to stay calm. This is an art film, it doesn't need hype. Who said I'm hyping? Lucas chuckled. I'm here to act seriously and, by the way, spend time with my newlywed wife. We're just in a contract marriage, I reminded him. The contract doesn't say we can't make it real. Lucas's fingers brushed my cheek lightly before he straightened up. Let's get to work, wife. The first scene was an intimate one. The director asked Lucas and me to convey the ambiguity and tension of lovers. Action. Lucas's gaze shifted instantly, his eyes burning with passion and affection as he gently caressed my face, slowly leaning down. Just as his lips were about to touch mine, the set erupted in commotion. Teacher Henry. You can't come in. We're filming. Ignoring the staff's protests, Henry strode onto the set. His eyes locked onto Lucas and me, almost pressed together. Sophie, his voice hoarse, we need to talk. The director called cut, and everyone stared at the three of us, the air thick with gossip. I looked at Henry coldly. I'm working. Just 5 minutes, Henry almost pleaded. Rose said you forwarded her Facebook post out of jealousy. I don't believe you're that kind of person. I nearly laughed. Henry, have you lost your mind? Me, jealous? Lucas wrapped his arm around my waist, speaking lazily. Mr. Henry, interrupting a couple's work isn't very appropriate, is it? Henry's face darkened. Lucas, this is between me and Sophie. Now she's my wife. Lucas tightened his grip, and her business is my business. The set fell silent, everyone holding their breath, watching the drama unfold. I sighed and said to the director, give me 10 minutes to handle a personal matter. Then I dragged Lucas and Henry to the lounge. Once the door closed, Henry immediately spoke. Sophie, I know you're angry, but you can't marry Lucas just out of spite. Don't you know what kind of person he is? Oh? What kind of person am I? Lucas asked with interest. A playboy. You change women faster than clothes. Henry glared at him. You're not worthy of Sophie. Lucas laughed instead of getting angry. At least I wouldn't ditch someone on our wedding day to tend to another woman. Henry faltered, then turned to me. Sophie, Rose's pregnancy was an accident, but I have to take responsibility. Give me some time until the baby's born. Henry, I cut him off, we're done. I didn't marry Lucas out of spite, it's because I realized he's a million times better than you. Lucas raised an eyebrow, seemingly surprised by my words. You don't love him at all. Henry said excitedly. Then do you love me? I asked back, if you loved me, would you leave me to be with Rose on the day we got our marriage certificate? Would you sleep with her on our bed? Would you let me raise your child? Henry was speechless. There was never love between us, just a business marriage, I said calmly. Now the partner has changed, that's all. Henry's face turned ashen. You'll regret this. He slammed the door and left, and the lounge finally returned to silence. Wow, Lucas whistled. Should I thank Henry's stupidity for letting me pick up a wife for free? I glared at him. Don't get cocky. Our marriage is just a contract. Is it? Lucas suddenly closed in, trapping me between him and the wall. Then why was your heart racing when you said I was a million times better than him? How did he know? I forced calm, just an actor's basic skill. Lucas chuckled softly, lifting my chin with his fingers. Sophie, did you know? You're right, I twitches slightly when you lie. Before I could argue, his lips pressed down on mine. The kiss came suddenly, undeniable. Lucas's lips were warm and commanding, parting my teeth and diving in. I should have pushed him away, but somehow, I responded. When we parted, breathless, Lucas's eyes gleamed with triumph. Looks like your body's more honest than your mouth. Annoyed and embarrassed, I snapped, this is a set. We should get back to work. Lucas laughed and let me go. Yes, my movie queen. Back on set, everyone looked at us with knowing glances. The director coughed lightly. Continue the last scene? Action. Lucas approached me again, but this time his gaze was even more intense. His fingers brushed my lips as he whispered, this time, no interruptions. Then he kissed me, this one more lingering than in the lounge. I completely forgot we were acting, lost in his presence. Cut. Perfect. The director shouted excitedly. That's the feeling. Lucas reluctantly pulled away from my lips, whispering in my ear, looks like we really seem like a couple. Blushing, I pushed him away, but I couldn't deny that this contract marriage was veering into uncontrollable territory. Worse, I realized I didn't mind the change. My phone buzzed while I was picking clothes in Lucas's wardrobe. Yes, a week after our contract marriage, we'd moved in together. We had to keep up appearances for the media. Heartbeat moment variety show invite? I read aloud from my agent's notice, then sneered, the guest list includes me and Rose? Lucas emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a towel, water dripping down his abs. Henry planned it. How do you know? I instinctively stole a few extra glances at his physique. Drying his hair, he handed me a tablet showing Henry's Facebook post from half an hour ago. Special preview, I'll appear on Heartbeat Moment with the most important person, with a big announcement. The comments section was ablaze. Is this an official dad announcement? Picking a show with Sophie is a heart-stabbing move. White Lotus tactics on point. Going? Lucas suddenly hugged me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. If my wife's afraid of being bullied. Afraid? I smacked his face lightly with my phone. I'm afraid I won't be able to stop myself from slapping that filthy couple on the spot. Lucas chuckled and nibbled my ear. I've got your back. His fingers brushed the notice. Funny thing, they invited me too. I turned sharply, my nose nearly hitting his lips. When did you accept? Yesterday, a sly glint in his eyes. Hearing some filthy couple might bully my wife, how could I stand it? My heart warmed, but I put on a stern face. Who's your real wife? The next second, the world spun, and Lucas pinned me against the wardrobe, his woody scent mixed with shower gel hitting me. Need to review our marriage certificate? His knee pressed between my legs, my breathing faltered. Lucas. Call me husband. His thumb rubbed my collarbone, then he licked my earlobe. You'll have to call me that on the show too. I raised my leg to kick him, but he grabbed my thigh first, the touch like fire. The next day at the recording, Rose entered in a loose white dress, deliberately holding her waist, Henry supporting her like she was fragile porcelain. The camera zoomed in. The host exclaimed dramatically, "Oh my! Does our Rose have good news?" Rose lowered her head with a shy smile, but Henry jumped in, "We do have something important to announce today." His gaze swept to where I sat in the audience. I hope everyone can bless us. The audience hooted, and the camera cut to me. On the big screen, I was crossing my legs, playing with my phone, not even looking up. Does teacher Sophie have nothing to say? The host stirred the pot. I looked up with a light smile. I hope the child looks like its father. After a pause, after all, teacher Henry's genetic test results are quite fascinating. The crowd gasped. Henry's face turned ashen instantly, His family's genetic disease history was an industry secret. Rose suddenly spoke, "Sister Sophie, I know you're hurting." She touched her belly, tears welling up. "But the child is innocent." "Of course it's innocent," I smiled sweetly. "After all, the sins of the parents shouldn't burden the child." Stifled laughter came from the audience. Henry shot up, "Sophie, must you be so harsh?" Before I could respond, the studio doors burst open. Lucas walked in wearing a deep V-neck black shirt, a suggestive red mark on his collarbone, my bite from this morning. "Sorry I'm late." He walked straight to my side and sat down, kissing my cheek in front of everyone. "My wife was too tired last night, so I let her sleep in." The crowd gasped. The big screen clearly showed the veins bulging on Henry's forehead and Rose's frozen smile. "Our first game is Love Quiz," the host announced excitedly. "Please go to the answering area." Lucas hugged my waist and walked to the stage. I heard Rose's sweet voice from behind, "Brother Henry, my waist is sore." I rolled my eyes, then Lucas pinched my butt. "Wife, focus on walking." "You." I glared, but he pecked my lips. The audience screamed. A loud bang came from Henry dropping his mic. The rules were simple. Couples answer separately, matching answers score points. Question 1. What's the woman's favorite color? Lucas wrote starry blue without hesitation. The screen showed my identical answer. Henry's side hit a snag. He wrote white, Rose wrote pink. "How?" Henry frowned. "Rose, all your clothes are white." Rose pouted, "That's to match your taste for purity." The audience booed. Question 2, first kiss location? Lucas and I both wrote Civil Affairs Bureau. He did kiss me there on registration day. Henry's side messed up again. He wrote hotel, Rose wrote set lounge. Rose cried, "Brother Henry, how could you get this wrong? You said you'd always remember that day." Henry fumbled to wipe her tears. I nearly laughed. Serves them right. Last question, how would you handle cheating? I scribbled boldly, castrate and feed to dogs. Lucas's board read, support all my wife's decisions. The audience lost it. Henry, green-faced, wrote cheating's impossible, but Rose wrote I believe he'll return to the family. The atmosphere turned awkward. Next is the chemistry challenge. The host, loving the chaos, said, "Men, blindfolded, identify your wife by touch." Blindfolded Lucas was led to me. He touched my fingertips and smiled, "My Sophie." His fingers slid to the mole inside my wrist. "I feel this every night." The crowd's screams exploded. My face flushed. This jerk did hold me every night, even if it was just for show. Henry went up confidently but called Rose on the third woman only to remove his blindfold and find the female host. Rose broke down, "You can't even recognize me? That night you said my hands were special." Henry, sweating profusely, stammered, "Let me explain." Recording paused for 10 minutes. When it resumed, Rose's eyes were red, and Henry's shirt was wrinkled from her grip. The final segment was truth or dare. Rose drew, "What bothers you most about your partner?" She glanced at me darkly, "I hate people stealing from me." Then touched her belly, "But now I have an ace." My turn, I drew proudest moment. Lucas jumped in, the moment she agreed to marry me. My heart skipped. This wasn't scripted. Seeing Henry's twisted face, I added with a smile, "And the moment I ditched the trash." As we left after recording, Rose blocked me, "Think you've won?" She whispered, "When I win Best Actress, let's see if Lucas still wants a has-been like you." Before I could retort, Lucas pressed against me from behind, hugging me, "Wife, I just told the director you're the lead in the next film." He glanced at Rose. "As for the second female lead, they want someone fresh." Rose paled. That role was rumored to be hers. In the car back, Lucas got serious, "Rose won't give up." I scoffed, "Scared of her?" "Scared you'll soften." He pinched my chin. "Like?" My phone rang. Henry. I hit speaker, spit it out. Sophie. Henry's voice was hoarse. I regret it. Rose, she's nothing like you. Lucas snatched the phone. Mr. Henry, my wife's collarbone is clearer than your life plans. Don't embarrass yourself. He hung up. I collapsed laughing in the seat. Lucas, you. He suddenly leaned over and kissed me, fierce and urgent, releasing me only when I couldn't breathe. Sophie, his eyes held an emotion I couldn't read. Contract marriage rule 1, no pitying exes. My heart raced. I forced calm. Who's pitying? Better not. His thumb brushed my lip. Because next. I'm seriously pursuing my wife. The day the Golden Deer Awards nominations dropped, Facebook exploded. Trending number 1, Sophie vs. Rose for Best Actress, with a hot tag. Congrats, my dear wife. Lucas hugged me from behind, chin on my shoulder, our overlapping figures reflected on the phone screen. Third nomination. I frowned at the list. Rose, on what basis? Her art film's only 5.8. Lucas chuckled, warm breath on my ear, on sleeping with the jury chair for 3 nights. He pulled up paparazzi shots. Funny, I've got proof. One showed Rose in a trench coat sneaking into a hotel, another clearly showed Henry gaming next door that night. I sneered, does Henry know? He does now. Lucas opened Facebook, mass sending the photos to Henry and major accounts. My nomination gift. 10 minutes later, Henry called. I hit speaker. Sophie. His voice was like a cat with its tail stepped on. What's the meaning of you making Lucas send those photos? Lucas grabbed the phone. Mr. Henry, my wife's busy. He toyed with my hair absently. I suggest you ask Miss By if that baby's yours. A loud crash came from the other end. I held back laughter until my stomach hurt. After hanging up, Lucas turned me by the shoulders. I've got a surprise for the awards. His fingertips slid from my collarbone to my waist, where that starry blue gown. A pause. I want everyone to know who the real Best Actress is. On the awards red carpet, Rose deliberately flaunted her slightly protruding belly for attention. In a white lace dress, she looked like a walking mosquito net. Sister Sophie, she blocked me, fingers brushing her stomach. The baby says it wants to see what a trophy looks like today. Before I could speak, Lucas hugged my waist. Funny, my wife's trophy case is just missing a golden deer. He leaned to my ear. Tonight, I'll personally award you, in bed. Flashes erupted. Rose walked off, face ashen. Seated, I noticed Henry next to Rose. Guess the cuckold photos didn't split them. Now, Best Actress. The presenter dragged it out, the screen cutting to close-ups of me and Rose. The winner is. As the envelope opened, Rose half stood. Sophie. Dark Night's Light. Thunderous applause. I rose gracefully. Rose shrieked, impossible. She pointed at the jury. Chairman Wong, you clearly promised. She clapped her hand over her mouth, but it was too late. The scene erupted. Live comments exploded. Holy crap, self-destruct. Confirmed bribing the jury. The baby daddy's face is green, LOL. I lifted my skirt to the stage. The moment I held the trophy, the screen switched to looped paparazzi footage of Rose backstage with Chairman Wong, too explicit to censor in time. Henry stormed out, Rose, chasing him, tripped on her skirt and face planted live on camera. During my speech, I raised the trophy, thanks to those who speak with talent. Glancing at a pale Rose below, and, to certain people who paved my way with their bodies. Amid roaring laughter, Lucas rushed on stage, kissing me deeply in public. Wife, let's go home to unwrap gifts. The live feed cut off, but the internet exploded. In the nanny van, Lucas pinned me to the seat, kissing me, the trophy digging into my waist. You planned this? I pushed him off, panting. Licking his lips, he smiled. The video was a bonus. His fingers rubbed my nape, but that kiss, long planned. My heart skipped. I changed the subject. Rose is done. More than that, Lucas pulled out his phone. Just got word Henry took her for a paternity test. I whistled, drama of the year. Back home, as I opened the door, Lucas pinned me against the entryway. His eyes held an unfamiliar heat. Sophie, our contract's up. My chest tightened. So? He slowly unzipped my gown. I'm proposing again. A velvet box opened, not a ring, but a key. I froze. Qingnan Villa, his voice rasped. The master bedroom has a wall for your trophies. A pause. It's missing a male owner. My nose stung. Lucas, are you serious? He pressed my hand to his chest. This beats faster than when I won my first Best Actor, you tell me. As I was about to answer, the doorbell rang wildly. The monitor showed Henry, face bloody, pounding the door. Sophie. Happy now? Rose miscarried. Lucas sked and called security, then saw me heading to the door. Softening? He narrowed his eyes. I grabbed a golf club from the entryway, going for the kill. The door opened, and Henry lunged. It's all your fault. Rose paternity results out? I sneered, opening my phone to the fresh report, biological father excluded. Henry looked thunderstruck. You, how? From Lucas, I kicked away his grabbing hand. By the way, Rose wasn't just with Chairman Wang, there's producer Li, director Zhang. I flipped through photos. Oh, and even your assistant. Henry slumped to the ground, clutching my skirt. Sophie, I was wrong, let's start over. Get lost, Lucas kicked him away. My wife's wedding dress is already ordered. As security dragged Henry off, he yelled, Sophie. You don't even know what love is. Door shut, Lucas dropped to one knee. Miss Sophie, will you upgrade our contract marriage to a lifetime deal? I bent down, pinching his chin. Depends on your performance. He hoisted me over his shoulder toward the bedroom. Time for the boss to inspect the work. The starry blue gown fell to the floor, tangling with his suit jacket. Moonlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling window, illuminating two trophies side by side on the nightstand: his best actor, my best actress. I was scrolling news of Henry selling insurance in a small town, lying on Lucas's lap eating grapes, when a grape seed spat onto his custom suit pants. He leisurely wiped his pants with a tissue, his other hand kneading my neck. What's making you so happy? I showed him the phone. On screen, Henry, in a wrinkled cheap suit, handed out flyers on the street, scolded by an auntie. You jinx whose wife ran off, don't bring me bad luck. TSK, Lucas bent to bite the grape from my fingers. That's it? I thought you saw my pic from last night. I laughed and kicked him. When did you post a pic? He grabbed my ankle, his thumb brushing my sole. Post it now? My phone buzzed. My agent. Rose's live stream crashed. Wanna see the fun? I clicked the link instantly. Rose's live stream chat was a riot. Whose kid is it? Heard you slept with judges for roles? Does Henry know how many hats you've put on his head? On camera, Rose forced a smile. Babies, today I'm recommending this face mask. I sent a comment. Babies? Didn't your baby miscarry? The chat blew up instantly. Rose's face looked like she'd been stabbed in the chest. She slammed the product down, screaming at the camera. Sophie. Was that you? I laughed so hard I nearly fell off Lucas's lap. This happy? Lucas took my phone, pinning me to the sofa. Shouldn't my dear wife reward me? I hooked his tie. What reward? He whispered in my ear, and my ears turned red. Later, I saw Rose on a mall screen endorsing a shady micro-business, wearing a cheap sequin skirt, her smile stiff as a mask. About to snap a pic for Lucas, I heard a scream behind me. Henry. I spun around Rose, in 10-centimeter heels, charged and slapped Henry. It's all you. If not for your incompetence, how'd I end up like this? Henry grabbed her wrist. Bitch. You dare blame me? They tussled on the street, half of Rose's wig ripped off, 2 buttons popped off Henry's shirt. Onlookers filmed wildly, some went live. I strolled over, taking the best viewing spot. Henry suddenly saw me, his face thunderstruck. "Sophie?" Rose whipped around, makeup smeared like a ghost. I smiled, raising my phone. "Keep going, I'll get you trending." That night, ex-couple street brawl topped trends. Nestled in Lucas's arms, I scrolled comments, shaking with laughter. "This happy?" He tilted my chin and kissed me. "Want to be happier?" He showed me the latest on his phone. Henry was fired from the insurance company after Rose reported him for embezzling client premiums to stage a comeback. "Serves him right," I laughed, hugging his neck. "But..." More than watching them crash, I leaned to his ear. "I'd rather watch you." Before I finished, he pressed me into the sofa. "Some people torment each other, while others, loving for 10 years, still find it not enough."